Good afternoon and welcome to our senior celebration. Thank you for joining us today for this virtual gathering to celebrate you, our graduating seniors. Under normal circumstances, we conduct this event in our lobby, say a few words, and then repair to our conference room and enjoy food together. Unfortunately, these are strange times, and we're going to have a virtual gathering this way, which is great. I want to thank Melody Johnson and Karen Hammond for helping set this up, and Sandy for Military for helping have this Zoom available to us. At least this allows us to see you once again, or you can see us at least, before you graduate and set out on your new adventure in life. In our department, we value the friendships and relationships that we have with each other, and we value the rapport we have and relationships we have with you, our students. So to help to make this event more personal, your teachers have prepared a few words to say about each of you, our graduating seniors. And let's begin with Dr. Lily Creighton.
Oh, fabulous. Well, there were a few different students that I was invited to talk about today. So I will begin with the one who is here to listen, Katelyn Blakely. So when I was a very new professor, my very first generation of students that I worked with, I had a particular student who I was close to. She was one of those first students who I got to work with throughout most of her 4 years. And her name was Alison. She went on to be a high school teacher at Ware Shoals High. And we stayed in touch a little bit. I ran into her periodically. A few years ago, she got in touch kind of out of the blue and said, I'm sending you my best person. I am sending you my very best student. It is essential that you take incredibly good care of her or else. And I know that she's going to land her because she trusted me and I told her that this was going to be a great place for her where she would be loved and nurtured. And I'm just so happy for you guys that you get to work with her. And she, of course, was talking about Katelyn Blakely. And she could not have been more right. To get to work with the favorite student of my favorite student was a very big grown-up moment for me. And to see how we're kind of passing down the opportunities that we have from generation to generation was a really exciting moment to just see how our department operates. Katie has been just as much of a joy to work with as we were promised. She has brought so much life to our class discussions. She's really funny. She has a snarky, sarcastic streak that makes class go very quickly and be a lot of fun. She is also really honest, and when she talks about books and she talks about her reaction to things, you really feel like you're having an exchange of ideas and a meeting of minds. And that's not always the case in the classroom. It has been such a joy watching her grow up to be such a capable human being, and I'm going to really enjoy the next phase of watching her start her career. But we were indeed, just as promised by Janie Allison, well, now Janie Guess, very, very lucky to score Katelyn Blakely as a Lander student, and we are so glad that we did. Well, that's student number one. Shall I keep going?
Thank you.
Katie, we love you, and we are so proud of you.
I love you guys.
Well, I was also invited to talk about a couple of students who weren't able to join us today. And one of those is our other English award winner, because of course Katie was an English award winner. And interestingly enough, our other one was also from Ware Shoals. Something going on in Ware Shoals. Good English teaching happening there. But Alison Rodriguez was somebody who kind of crept onto the radar for me rather than leapt onto the radar. And I think that I appreciated her even more because of that, because she kind of snuck up on me a little bit. Those of you who had Alison in class, you know, and Alison, I think you know this about yourself. She is very, very quiet and does not does not really express herself verbally in the classroom. Even so, when I first taught her, it was in Victorianism. And even though she hardly ever talked, it actually took me a couple of weeks to figure out which of these students was Alison Rodriguez. But by the time I figured it out, I kept waiting for her to express herself, because she always looked like she was locked into the conversation. She was obviously listening. She was obviously thinking. You could see the wheels turning. And I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what it was going to be until her first paper that she turned in. And I still remember reading it and being just a little shocked. This was going on in that very quiet person. All of these thoughts, all of these responses, a really profound ability as a listener. And we don't take enough time to appreciate that a lot of the times these days. But somebody who was really taking in every little comment that everyone in class made and synthesizing those comments together and processing, and then pushing a little bit deeper than the group as a whole was able to go. And then to express that in just beautifully written prose. Getting to Alison's paper in a stack of papers became something that I kind of held out as a treat for myself. I would put it at the bottom of the stack, and I would read through all the ones that I knew were going to make me work really hard. And then I would end with this thing that just left me feeling uplifted and feeling like class worked. And that is something that I have truly come to appreciate. I got to teach her again this semester in Romanticism. Same thing. She still didn't say much, maybe a little more than last time, but she had a lot to say when she sat down to write. So I've been really grateful and lucky to have Alison in class. My third student that I get to talk about today is Sarah Williams Schiele. And we've had a lot of Sarahs. We had so many Sarahs in this particular generation of students that we coined the phrase or the term a swoop of Sarahs. We decided we needed a collective noun for that, like a pride of lions. And Sarah Williams Schiele was an absolutely essential part of our swoop. I don't think we'll be quite the same without her. I have so much respect for Sarah. One of the things about her is that things haven't really come easily for her. I will offer some evidence of that. Her nickname freshman year was Brokefoot Sarah, to distinguish her from other Sarahs. And it did feel like often the cosmos was fighting back. Every time she tried to just get through a semester without any kind of drama, there was always some kind of plot twist in store. And, one of the things about seeing somebody work through challenges like that is that you really get to see the metal underneath their outward presence. And Sarah is so dignified and so professional in the way she presents herself that it's heartwarming to me that I know what's underneath that. I know that there's a lot of vulnerability and just an enormous heart and an enormous capacity for love and for nurturance and for her own future students, but also just steel, just the ability to work through almost anything and not let go of her goals and her drive. And I love the courage that she has exhibited at Lander, her willingness to go study abroad. She was so determined to get to Cambridge, and she did. And I think she had a life-changing experience there. And even once she got to Cambridge, the adventure, wasn't complete. She then had to bop all over Europe and go explore the rest of the continent. And getting to watch her trust herself, trust her ability to navigate, trust her problem-solving ability to just venture out into the world and have no worries at all, because I know she could handle it, and I know she could handle anything else that came up. I'm so excited. This is another one of my moments where I'm going to have a student who was very, very special to me going out to teach and hopefully send us her best students someday soon. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing who Sarah Williams Schiele's favorite students turn out to be and whether we can score them as English majors at Lander very, very soon. Well, those were my three.
I just wanted to add to what Lily said about Sarah, Brokefoot Sarah. that continued into her senior year as well. But she had a very difficult student teaching situation, more so than just dealing with the Rona. And she never complained. In fact, I wish she would have complained earlier in some ways, but I've had conversations with her on the phone recently, and she's been much more focused on her future students than complaining about her situation. And I think that just reinforces what Lily was saying about her and what she's going to be able to do moving forward.
So I've been texting her trying to figure out why she's not here, and she's not here because she's moving to the Saluda area to teach in Saluda, where she graduated from high school, and they just cut off her internet from her apartment so that she can move to her new house. So, but she wishes she could be here, and yeah, I'm also proud of her. Okay, I'll stop talking.
All right, thank you, Dr. Creighton. And now Kathryn McLaughlin Rojas has a few students to recognize.
Well, the first student that I have the privilege to talk about is Darius Bryant. And the first thing I would say about him is there's no student who smiles more than he does. Everywhere I go on campus, he's always smiling. He always says hello. And I feel just honored that he remembers me 4 years later after being in my class. He was a student who kind of started off being a quiet person in the back of the class, kind of like Lily said about Alison Rodriguez, who is a terrific student. I agree with you. But he started off kind of quiet, and he little by little sort of came out of his shell. And I remember he wrote a book review of Bill Bryson's Mother Tongue. And this was the assignment that really stood out to me for him. Like, I read it as a college student and thought, okay, it's an entertaining book. I enjoyed it. It was good. His review of it kind of showed me a different side of it, a different perspective of that book, and how other people might experience the English language and the spread of the English language around the world. I never saw it from a different perspective, and he really taught me something different about language just by the way that he talked about that. And he's come back to me over the years and has even shared other materials for me to use in the English 345 class. He said, hey, why don't you show this documentary? Why don't you share this information with your students? And it's been an honor that he's kept in touch with me all that time. And I really, I know he's going to be a great teacher just by how committed he is to what he does, being a student leader on campus. And so that's a little bit about Darius. The other student that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to share my screen because I think she's probably one of the most photogenic students that we've had at Lander. So I'll share this. That came from her senior spotlight. Can you all see Elena? So in her Facebook account, I always see all of these beautiful pictures of her. I think she could be a model. But this is a student that I actually had. I think she came to Lander about 3 or 4 years ago, and she was in one of the ESL classes that we were running at the time. And it was a group of Chinese students who came all together from, I think it was the same university in Shanghai. She was supposed to be here for a semester, I think, and she ended up deciding to stay. She followed her passion for music. She's a great piano player. And she was one of the most dedicated students I had in the following year in English 101, the international section for English 101. She was in my office pretty much every day to work on her assignments, very determined. The following year, I think, or was it last year, that she did a presentation for the Academic Research Symposium on motivation in language learning between first year and second, or of first language students and second language students. And she actually ended up winning the Judges Award for her panel, which was a great accomplishment. It was really just a joy for me to see a student who came here as, you know, an ESL student who might stay a semester, and she ended up getting this really impressive award. And I know she was really, really excited about that. I know she's going to go on to do her master's at UNC Charlotte. So I wish her the greatest of luck with that. I know she got married recently too. So her life is about to take off in lots of different directions. So it's just exciting for me to be able to see a student who came here with maybe one purpose, which was just to have an American experience, and she's really become an American in the process. So that's exciting. And so I think that's my presentation.
All right, thank you, Kathryn. And now Lauren Corbett is going to talk to us, share some few words.
Yeah, okay, so I've got the privilege of talking about two of our Spanish majors this semester. And the first one that I want to talk about is Raven Burgos. And I think the thing that stands out about her is that she has such a passion for all things Puerto Rican. She is half Puerto Rican herself, and the way her eyes light up when she talks about, you know, Puerto Rican culture or history or just anything, you know, Puerto Rican, she is on it. She was in my Spanish phonetics class this semester where, you know, it was a class that dealt a lot with pronunciation and variations in dialects across the Spanish-speaking world, and it involved students making really silly sounds and kind of having to put themselves out there, and Raven just kind of, she gave it her all, and she was not embarrassed to try all these new different sounds, and she was excited to research Caribbean dialects. So I think she went all in, and it was her enthusiasm that was a bit infectious. I also had her in Spanish 301 or 305, which is a difficult class. It's a very challenging, grammar-intensive class. And the strength that Raven has is that she is one of those students who, when things get challenging, she is not daunted by those challenges. She doesn't, you know, shut down or give up or throw in the towel. I think she keeps plugging along, and that perseverance, I think, is admirable. And then my other student, I believe, is just logging in, is Miss Mackenzie Therian, who, in addition to being an excellent Spanish major and, you know, an academic performer in general, is also a wonderful creative mind and an excellent artist. She has provided me with some wonderful artwork, which I still have in my office and is one of my personal treasures from a student. But Mackenzie just always has an excellent attitude, and when I had her for 301, she came in as just this ball of nerves that wanted to do, she wanted to do everything perfectly. And the thing is that she was succeeding. She, you know, she would come to me and she would ask me all these questions because she wanted to know all the ins and outs of grammar, and she wanted to do it, you know, just so. And the writings that she would submit to me were just, you know, so far beyond what I was expecting of my students. They were always so creative and funny, and she just brought laughter to my day. And so she is a wonderful Spanish major.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. And Shawn Barn has a few words to share.
I was told that we were going to do this trivia style, so I will make it a big surprise. The first time the first assignment I got from the student I wanted to talk about was in University 101. And I had asked the students to do this, quick little throwaway kind of essay. Why are you in college? What do you think Lander wants you to be in college for, et cetera? And I'm looking at this stack, and they're fine. And I get to this student's essay, and it's not an essay. It's a poem. It's a 3-page poem, meter and verse. And it kind of does the assignment. It's about the metaphysical value of a liberal arts education. And that was the first indication that I got from this student of the kind of student that she is, serious and hardworking, playful with just enough rebelliousness to know, so that she's not going to put up with any BS. She's going to do things her way. Couple years later, maybe it was the next year or 2 years later, I don't remember, I was giving my grammar class an assignment, and I was pretty proud of this assignment. And I said, here's what I want you to do, analyze this, whatever. And her hand goes up, and she says, yeah, okay, what if instead of doing that, I did a research project analyzing Yoda's grammar and compared the original trilogy with the prequels? I was like, okay, sure. And that turned into a project for the academic symposium, and it was just fantastic. Obviously I'm talking about Elle. Elle has interned in the president's office downstairs. Elle has studied abroad fearlessly. Elle has taken on any number of amazing challenges. She has done really, really high quality research under really, really unfortunate circumstances this past semester, looking at students' views of grades in first-year writing classes, and it has just been a pleasure and honor to work with you these last 4 years.
Well, speaking of research about grades, like half of you on this screen right now helped me with that, and really really pushed your students to take the survey, even though they were being forced into all online classes. So I couldn't have done any of that without y'all forcing them politely to take my survey, so I appreciate y'all. And also, Dr. Barnett, I still have this research poster that you made me do in freshman year. All of my research started right there. Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
This has been the best 4 years of my life.
We loved having you, Elle.
It will not always be, but we'll hold the title while we can. We'll take it for now.
Yeah.
I would just add about Elle, something that my friend Mandy Cleveland in the psych department has said about her on a number of occasions. Anytime her name comes up or we see her name written somewhere, Mandy has to go on a little rant about how amazing a student she is. And if you knew these two people well, you would understand that they're not natural fits. Elle was never a psych major, and they disagree on lots of political and social issues, and that in no way changes the respect that pretty much everybody who gets to teach Elle feels for her. Mandy's phrase is that Elle is the most intellectually curious human being she has ever met and probably will ever meet. And I second that for sure.
All right, thank you. Laura Martin has a few words to share now.
So I'm going to talk about Emily Fuller. And I have to say, Emily is kind of special to me, in part just because I've gotten to teach her a lot. I teach mostly gen ed courses, and it's rare that I have a student for 3 different classes. And I've had Emily 3 times, so I feel like I know her pretty well. And she was in my tech writing class the first time that I taught technical writing. And I will say that class, it's a really tough class. It's a 400 level class. The students are writing in a way that's pretty counter to everything they've learned in all of their other writing classes. It's just a very difficult class. And I just kind of noticed right away that Emily was extremely patient, with me and with herself in that class, which everybody was not. She just kind of took to it right away. And she really embraced the challenge of kind of learning this totally new, different skill set. And that made a lot of sense to me as I got to know her better, because Emily actually does a lot of really interesting different stuff. She's been an RA, she rides horses, she does photography, she's a video game nerd, she's been president of English Club and Spectrum while she's been at Lander. So she's just kind of involved in all of these different things. And she's a wonderful writer. She's super insightful. And I think really that comes from what I would consider to be Emily's strongest quality, which is that she's incredibly empathetic, like maybe one of the most empathetic people that I've ever known. And that empathy, you know, leads her to do things like be the president of Lander Spectrum. She just kind of finds something to love and admire about just about everyone. She's really pleasant to be around. And I think part of that's because she hasn't had the easiest life. She has kind of a challenging background. But yeah, she just has really wonderful empathy for people. And in the classroom, a lot of times that turns into really powerful insight. So she's a really good reader of other people's work. She's really able to kind of delve into different characters' mindsets and perspectives. And she's also, like I said, she's just really a joy to be around. She's a really engaged student. And I've just really, really enjoyed knowing her and wish her all the best. And I will just kind of finish by saying that the next thing she's doing in the fall, she's going to the
Do we lose you, Laura? Okay, well, thank you, Laura.
I'm going to finish that sentence though. She's going,
Okay.
she's going to
Go
UNC
ahead.
Wilmington for grad school. She just got hired in a really awesome assistantship. She's going for a master's in higher education.
Oh, Laura's back.
Okay, well, Emily's going to grad school at the University of North Carolina in Wilmington, and she's pursuing a master's in higher ed. And I was just saying that, you know, I think she's really appreciated everything that the English department has kind of like offered and had a really positive experience at Lander. And I think she's been a real asset to Lander. And I'm excited to kind of see, you know, what she does as she studies the thing that we're all so passionate about. So that's all. I'm just very proud of her, and congratulations. And sorry I got kicked out in the middle.
All right, and Melody Johnson has a few words.
Hello there. So I'm going to share about one of, well, as everyone knows, but about one of our seniors. And this senior, you know, I haven't got a chance to know her for a long time, but I've really enjoyed getting to know her. Jamie Burke, she's one of our English majors with the emphasis in professional writing, and she actually interned with our department this semester. And so I only got to know her senior year, but really have enjoyed getting to know her. And Jamie is has kind of a neat story in that she, you know, lived in Ohio for a long time and then moved here to Greenwood, South Carolina 10 years ago, and started at Lander as a transfer student. So she kind of brought in, you know, that experience first, and then kind of joined the Lander family. And I know Jamie is super passionate about creative writing. One thing that she did as part of our internship was Dr. Misty Jamison is one of our sponsors for New Voices, and Jamie was one of the editors for that. And Jamie mentioned to me that she really enjoyed getting a chance to read all the pieces, and that's something that she looks forward to doing in the future, is that she's specifically interested in publishing. So that's one thing, and we really, as the department, did enjoy her interning with us this semester. She, you know, did a lot of tasks that are maybe time consuming without complaints, but also did some, you know, really great work as well with reviewing the LU forum, looking for editing work with that, and then also working on our EFL newsletter and helping with New Voices. So it was a pleasure to have her interning with her, and I, you know, wish her all the best. Excited for her new prospect.
All right, thank you, Melody. And Misty has a few words to say. Misty Jamison.
Hey. Okay, I actually have two people that I have to talk about. So first, I'm going to talk about Murillo. Okay, I am Marie's advisor, and I've taught her at least a couple different times. And what I like about Marie is that she is a very resilient person. She has a great ability to sort of make the best out of a less than ideal situation. Whatever that situation may be, it's always Marie's sort of quiet determination, I think, that allows her to sort of pick herself up, move on, and probably more importantly, learn from whatever the situation was. And from my experience with Marie, she's also someone who has become just a better and better writer. I remember the first couple times I read something of Marie's, we struggled, I'm not gonna lie, but by the time she took my Alfred Hitchcock class in the fall, she was really producing some excellent work. I was really very proud of her for how much she had grown. And I think that that's one of her strengths, is her ability to just to learn from her mistakes, to take criticism well, and really work to improve. Oftentimes we look at student writing, we try to help them, and we never see the results. But with Marie, she really worked hard to become a better writer, and I thought that shows a lot of strength, a lot of growth for Marie. And I think that these skills are really going to help her whatever she decides to do. She's somebody that I have confidence in. Marie's going to be okay, right? And I really have enjoyed getting to know her over the last few years. So that's Marie.
And can I add some thanks to Marie?
Sure.
You guys know the academic awards, those slides that students were able to share on Facebook. She made all of those, and she did it in like 36 hours. Like she just dropped everything and churned through that. What an amazing work ethic. I was so grateful.
Yes. She was always somebody you could depend on, right, to get stuff done. No matter what you sort of threw at her, she could usually do it. Yeah. Okay. So my second person is John Visbisky. I actually had a trivia question about John because he and I have a favorite similar, and I keep looking down because I made myself notes. I don't want to ramble. I want to stay focused. Okay. So my trivia question basically was, Don DeLillo is one of this student's favorite authors, and he is mine too. And it's John. Okay. So in preparing for this, I realized that John has taken me for 5 classes. 5. He is a complete and total glutton for punishment. That's the one thing you need to know about John, okay? The thing about him, though, I never got tired of seeing his name on my roll. If he was on my roll, I knew everything was going to be okay. I was excited, right? Because I always looked forward to having him in my classes. John is a thinker. He may not always jump right in and say something in class, but he's thinking about it. And he may talk to me after class to tell me what it was that he was thinking about. He may email me 2 days later with whatever it was he was thinking about. But the thing is, I always look forward to it, right? Because John, whatever it was, he always made me think in turn, right, about whatever we were reading or watching. And I always appreciated that about him, right? That he challenged me. And, I really enjoyed having him in my classroom. Sometimes I will say, I think his ideas almost would get the better of him, right? It was like there was not enough space and time in an essay to capture everything. But eventually, he would get a hold on it, and he would usually, at least in my experience, he would turn it into something that was really astute in its observations, that was really careful in its analysis, and would end up just being a joy to read. And I think that's one of his major strengths, is his attention to detail. John is very detail oriented. I think that's probably why he's been such a good writing center tutor. He also really has a desire to help people. And I think that those two things combined, attention to detail, his desire to help others, I think that makes him not just a good student and tutor, but just a special person. And truthfully, I'm really going to miss John. John, I'm going to miss you. I will say that. And please, feel like you can come back and see me or email me anytime. If you're watching a movie or reading a book and think of something later on, then just email me. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. And now James Anderson has a few words.
Well, I've been asked to talk about Taylor Gibson. Let's see, Taylor's not with us at the moment. Sarah Williams Schiele, we had very nice things to say about you, and I will mention you here at the end, I promise. But just look at the video later. It was just tremendous. But Taylor is one of the most unique students I've had, in the sense that when I first met her, I was teaching this class, this HUMA 330 class, about issues in education. And it took me a few weeks, probably months, to even remember that she was a secondary English major. And I think that says more about me than her. But I think part of it is that she was so quiet and unassuming. That's not to say she wasn't an excellent student. In fact, she sat up front. She always did her work. She clearly played by the rules. Maybe I had a hard time identifying with that kind of student, because that wasn't that kind of student when I was her age. But it took me a while to really see the teacher in her. And what I mean is that you've got to have a bit of crazy to enter this profession. And I didn't see the crazy in her. I didn't see the ability to just, take a crazy situation and work with it. But man, was I pleasantly surprised. Her senior year was just a completely different story. Working with her in the methods class, she was a leader. She committed to every crazy idea I threw at her. She took complete control of her clinical teaching situation. I never had to ask her for anything. In fact, she was the one asking me weeks ahead about things. She had a very good situation, but she took advantage of it. And I just got to see that bit of her that wasn't just playing by the rules anymore, but really pushing herself to be creative and a motivator. Her cooperating teacher told me that from top to bottom, from principal down to the custodians, that they considered her a part of the family. In fact, one of the custodians made her a craft and gave it to her and said, "You're part of our family now." So it was just sort of amazing to me what she was able to do. And I really feel like moving forward that she's going to be one of the teachers that I try to stay in contact with to see what she's doing. Some of you probably know, because she was in a senior spotlight, but she is taking on a position at Greer High School. And I just know she's going to be one of their best teachers. If not first year, within 2 or 3 years. And I hope she stays in the area, because I feel like I want to work with her in the future. And then finally, I just want to say a couple of things about our other two secondary English folks that have been talked about, Travis Bryant and Sarah Williams Schiele. I saw the crazy in them pretty early, so I didn't have to worry about that. But they just continue to take advantage of every situation. And so I'm really proud of them. They too, Sarah, some of you know, well, we said that she's going to be at Saluda. And although it's not official, I had communication today that Travis will very likely be teaching in Greenville County. And that should be official probably by the end of the day. But very proud of all three of them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, James. And now we turn to Andy Jamison.
So I am talking about Trey Strange, and I first got to know Trey as his advisor, And, you know, as it comes to be with some of our students that are our advisors, you sort of develop like in our case, I think I kind of started to develop over the years a father-son relationship with Trey, and that I was always we didn't always, and I kind of started to see a lot of my own son and Trey, or, you know, and so they're not too far apart. And I feel like, unfortunately, or, you know, it's kind of like a lot of my conversations with my own son, which is sometimes we're not very good at communicating with each other. Sometimes, you know, I'm not good and sometimes he's not good. But we eventually get together, and I see all this potential in Trey, and I've enjoyed getting to know him. And it's taken him, you know, and he's had some disappointments, and we were hoping to be here a little bit earlier, and he's been very resilient, and I'm really proud that he's finally here, graduating. But I think I do also want to talk about Trey as a student, because I did eventually get to teach Trey, and he took my fiction class, and he wrote this story, basically about a family, this kind of, you know, I guess like a Flannery O'Connor kind of family that's going on vacation up to the mountains of North Carolina, who run into some satanic hillbillies, and nothing good is going to happen to them at the end of the story. But the thing about that story is Trey worked so hard on it. He put so much effort into all the little details, into trying to get it just right. And he must have revised that story, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. And, you know, a lot of the students in my writing classes don't put that much effort into a satanic hillbilly story, you know. So, and I really admired that about Trey, and I saw his enthusiasm about writing come out at that moment. And I thought, all right, this guy gets it. He's going to be okay. And so I'm really proud that Trey is here now, and you know, go get him, bud.
Thank you, Andy. And I had Trey in modernism class, and besides satanic hillbillies, he also has a secret life as a race car driver. Did you know about that, Andy? So he was saying, sorry, I had a race this weekend, so I'm really not up to par this Monday. But anyway, congratulations, Trey, and the rest of you. Thank you so much for joining us and for allowing us to recognize you guys.
Jeff, could I interrupt
Yes.
for one moment before we
Sure.
stop? I see that Sarah Williams Schiele has popped up, and we talked about her at the very beginning, but I don't know if she got to hear what we said. So would you mind if I just recap really quickly? Sarah, we're all experts on you because we talked about you at some length a while ago. But just as a highlight, we talked about you as the center of our swoop of Sarahs for this year, and that in spite of a really long series of unfortunate events that seem to pop up over and over again every semester, beginning with you being dubbed Brokefoot Sarah as a freshman. You had a profound ability to rise above whatever came at you, and you never let that squelch your courage, and kept exploring to Cambridge and beyond. You never turned away from a life-changing experience. You never turned away from an opportunity to stretch and do a little bit more than was typically expected. And that is something that we just loved and appreciated about you. And of course, your remarkable intelligence and your strength of character were what was really behind that. So just a little recap of some things we said about Sarah earlier.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, graduating seniors. We hope those of you who aren't with us today will be able to see this at a later time. You're a very special class. And we take great pride in your accomplishments and expect great things to come after this, after you graduate. Please stay in touch with us. Drop us a line. Let us know how you're doing. Social media, we now have Facebook, Instagram, and I believe TikTok is coming up soon. So you can show us your new dance moves. Normally at this time, we would be adjourning to the conference room to enjoy some food and refreshment and some chit chat. Unfortunately, we're going to have to ask you to feel free to raid your refrigerator or pantry, or if you're of age, maybe your parents' liquor cabinet. But seriously, again, thank you for joining us today, and we hope the very best for you and expect great things.